So what we're talking about today, Hope had a question concerning protein sensitivity. So I wanted to cover her topic as the day 4 topic, and then the day 5 topic is detangling, and we'll get to that one next. So she specifically asked about protein sensitivity. So let's start here. Your hair is mostly protein, and understand that your hair requires protein from your diet and from direct access from products you're putting on your hair for optimal nutrition. And there are so many different types of proteins and different types of protein products that exist that you can find one that typically works for you. Okay, so when you're applying protein, again, the order of product use is very important. So when you've done your shampoo, you've done your cleansing, and you're applying the protein, you want to follow with the moisturization next, a moisturizing product next. And this is because there's only a finite number of binding sites along the strand of your hair. And so if you give it too much at one point in time, you're not able to effectively get the benefit from what you are using. So you don't want protein to be the only product you put on your hair. You always want to follow protein with a moisturizer, unless of course the product you're using contains moisture and protein in one. That's a little bit differently, but if you're using a protein specific product, you always want to follow with the moisturizer. And this is to keep the hair from getting that flimsy or sticky feeling that you may get. And this is where so many people believe they have protein sensitivity. But since your hair is mostly protein, it needs protein for its health. You may need to do some work to figure out what type of protein that your hair best uses, that your hair can best accept. Because again, there are many, many different types of protein on the market. You just need to find the one that works best for you. Now, specifically in speaking about curly coily tresses products, Enrich and Nourish both have hydrolyzed oat protein. And oat protein is very unique and very specific, and there are very specific reasons as to why I chose hydrolyzed oat protein to be included in our formulation. But hydrolyzed oat protein is a hygroscopic humectant. This means it grabs and retains water in the hair shaft. So again, this is coming back to moisturization and hydration. Water is the ultimate moisturizer, and this type of humectant moisturizer, this type of hygroscopic humectant, allows water to be pulled into that hair shaft where it's really needed. Because water on the surface of the hair is good, but water inside the hair is even better. That's the game-changing moisturization and hydration that I keep talking about when I speak to that. So again, hydrolyzed oat protein is a hygroscopic humectant, meaning it grabs and retains water in the hair shaft. Hydrolyzed oat protein also film forms, which means it's coating the hair, and it porosity fills, which means it's filling the gap. So when you have like high porosity hair, for example, and you look at your hair under a microscope, you can actually see chinks in the hair strand along the shaft. And so this is where this particular type of protein fills in those chinks to help simulate hair and to help give you a smoother strand. And so as you're going through your natural growth process and you're trimming your ends, it is doing the best it can to substitute the holes you have in your hair or the chinks you have in your hair. It's doing its best to fill in those to smooth out the strand a little bit and give you more of a smoother appearance. So again, that's what's very important about hydrolyzed oat protein. So it film forms, which means it's coating the hair shaft, it's protecting your hair, and then it porosity fills, which means it's filling the gaps in the hair shaft. All this to counter water loss. Again, your hair needs water, and this is one way to help it get water, by using an ingredient that pulls water inside the hair shaft with it. So again, this adds luster to the help and adds luster to your hair and helps in reducing breakage, and then it softens and smooths the hair. So again, that's why protein is important, specifically hydrolyzed protein. Hydrolyzed protein means using the process of water, a protein has been broken down into its individual components such that it can be absorbed by your hair. Because a typical protein that, let's say a protein that you would eat, it is still chemically too large to actually penetrate into the deepest layers of your hair strand. So you need a product that's been broken down into its constituent parts to make it small enough to penetrate the hair shaft. So when you're using some different foods that you find in nature that are high protein and you're incorporating that into your routine, well, it is good as long as you're using it on hair with the cuticles lifted so it can penetrate. But understand it can't penetrate to the lowest levels because of the size of the proteins in that particular item. And again, that's where hydrolyzed protein, which means hydrolysis, which means the product, the ingredient has been broken down using water into its constituent parts such that it is small enough to penetrate the hair shaft all the way into the deepest layers of the hair shaft. And so that's the difference between using a protein that you may find in the grocery store or one that you may have around your home as opposed to a hydrolyzed protein. So you're still getting benefit, just understand it won't necessarily penetrate to the deepest layers of your hair, which will give it even better benefit from having used it. So you're still getting a benefit, it just may not penetrate to the deepest layers. And if you believe you are protein sensitive, then you need to take a different look. You need to look for different types of proteins, ones that tends to be more effective for your hair. But again, I've chosen hydrolyzed oat protein because it is a smaller protein, so it can go deeper. It's also a humectant, so it's going to pull water in as well. And it seems to be more tolerated by different types of hair more easily than some of the other types of proteins because they may have larger bonds so they don't go as deep, or they may not have the humectant properties, which means it's not bringing the water into the hair shaft as well.